I just found out that Mushoku Tensei is the prequel to the actual story, and the story is going to revolve around the ancestors of Rudeus. Now, if you're an anime only watcher, you may think I'm crazy saying that, because you guys haven't found out the actual plot of the story yet, which you're going to see in Turning Point 4 in Season 3 of Mushoku Tensei. Let's just say it revolves around the man god. And the second biggest change in the story is when Rudeus does a rematch with Orsted. And I'm saying all that because it includes them and Rudeus' 6 kids that he had by the end of Mushoku Tensei. Personally, I haven't finished Mushoku Tensei's web novel, but I know that the battle between Rudeus and Man God is far from over. This is actually the exact quote by the Mushoku Tensei author, where he says it's going to take place 80 years after Mushoku Tensei, but he's going to start it after the anime is done, which he says is probably 3 to 8 years. It's probably leaning towards the 8-year part. But then he says he doesn't really intend to write it as a sequel to Mushoku Tensei. Even if he says that, the problem is the Mushoku Tensei world revolves around Man God being alive. So in 80 years when he's alive, it's still going to be a big plot point in the story. But I'm just happy that we can see more of the world of Mushoku Tensei because it is top tier. We need to talk about the upcoming Season 3 of Mushoku Tensei. Before we get into it, if you want to see more anime content from me, drop me a follow. Now, we do know that Season 3 is in the works because it was confirmed right after Season 2, but we have no idea when it's exactly releasing. I'm not gonna lie, Season 2 ended with some depressing moments, like Paul's death on Father's Day, and finding out that Zenith was basically brain dead and there might not be a cure to fix her. And as depressing it might be in our eyes, Rudeus' family seemed like they were in no danger at that point and seemed fine. And there's a pretty easy way we can find out when Season 3 is coming out, because right after Season 1, Season 2 was confirmed, and there is 1.5 year gap between them. So if we do that between Season 2 and Season 3, we should be expecting a Season 3 at the start of 2026. I would bet so much money that Season 3 is going to be the season to bring a lot of Mushoku Tensei fans over, because we basically get the actual plot of the entire story in Season 3. We haven't even seen it yet. And on top of that, we got a Orsted vs. Rudeus rematch, probably in Core 2 of Season 3. And at the start of Season 3, we are going to get Turning Point 4. And if you know how important turning points in Mushoku Tensei are, Turning Point 4 is the most important one. And to end it all off, we are going to find out who the main antagonist of Mushoku Tensei is. Let's just say he's been in the story for a long time already, and we just don't know it. No one is talking about the #1 problem around the controversy of Rudeus' character in Mushoku Tensei. But before I get into that, follow for anime content. The story of Mushoku Tensei is amazing, and with every story comes flaws, but with Mushoku Tensei, it goes a little bit beyond that with Rudeus' perversion, because at one point he's married to a 15-year-old and a 20-something-year-old at the same time, and at that point he's around 45 years old and he never tells either of them. And one thing I find stupid about this controversy is everyone goes after Rudeus, but we need to take a step back. Instead of us putting all of the blame on a fictional character, why don't we put it on the author? Because he is the one to come up with this story in the first place. It wouldn't have existed without him thinking these things. What makes it so disgusting, in my opinion, is if you didn't know that Rudeus was actually 45 and had lived a past life, you would think this is a good family. So this author is basically emotionally manipulating you to think this is fine. I do think the author of Mushoku Tensei might have been going for a simp trope like Sanji, but just failed miserably and just made it outright weird. But with Mushoku Tensei, there is a web novel and a light novel, and the web novel is basically a draft. So he could have changed anything about Rudeus' character when it gets put into the actual light novel, and he didn't. It would have been so easy to put Rudeus in this world and have him not date anyone. That would have fixed everything. But no, we have to put a you-know-what in the story and make it an interesting story for viewers, so then people start defending it. I didn't even know this was in the story before I started watching it. Honestly, if all of the bad things of the story were taken out, it would rival Re:Zero, and everyone would be talking about it for the right reasons. So let's put our blame on the person who created it